Hello, everyone. Jason Hagholm here for another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. And as always, to do this show, I need the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman Josh Hill, a clean-shaven gentleman, Josh Hill, right now. And I guess the maverick to my goose with his fantastic Top Gun shirt on.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Yeah, man, had to change it up. My kid doesn't like it though. She likes me with the beard better. But
I think everyone likes you with the beard better, but gotta grow the hair out next time.
Grow the hair out with the beard?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Give it an old Grizzly Adams look.
I like growing it out for a bit, and then I just feel dirty and gross and shaggy, and and then I just do this, and then I grow back, and just continue the cycle.
Well, fair enough. I mean, I guess proper grooming tips are always important for yourself. And I'm with you. Sometimes I feel gross when you let the beard and the hair grow. You feel like Happy Gilmore's caddy, especially out there in the summer like that. So you got to clean it up. But Josh, first of all, we were off last week because we were literally on a plane, like coming back from Edmonton after calling the fights for BTC Fight Promotions. Their 11th show. Second out of province, and all in all, a fantastic event with some fantastic young prospects and some great Canadian talent all around. Yeah,
man, it was good. It was fun. The best part was live with fans again. That was the first show we've done in a year and a half with fans, right? So yeah, that was fun, man. Alberta knows where it's at. I like it out there. The show itself was good. It was similar to the June show we did as far as up and coming talent. There wasn't a lot of big name people as far as having so many fights and whatnot. It was more newer up and comers that were just kind of making their name on the scene, but they delivered pretty well, man. There was a few fights that were just bangers and exciting and yeah, overall all 8 fights, like, they were good, man. I couldn't ask for really anything better.
No, not at all, especially for a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And, like a bit of a different time that we'd be doing a show, but I liked it.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was weird having that much free time.
Yeah. Like afterwards we're done and like, you go get dinner, you know what I mean? And I kind of like that. You're usually not done till, God knows what time. And then by the time you get anywhere, it's super late. And you got not much time to kind of celebrate or unwind. So,
yeah, I mean, and I guess the highlights of the show, I mean, Matt Krako won in our main event with like a second left in the first round with some devastating elbows.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, when you're looking back at this show, if you've reordered the replay, the two Alvaro brothers or Atme brothers, excuse me.
I always say that, the Alvaro brothers.
You know what? You have one brother with the 2 A's. The alliteration.
Kind of sounds right, Alvaro brothers.
But the Atme brothers, Albara and Izzuddin, at 135 pounds, like, these kids were unbelievable and definitely someone everyone needs to keep their eye on in this country.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed. They look good, they're obviously very skilled, you know what I mean, especially for guys that are so early in their career. But the biggest thing for me is just the calmness, you know what I mean? Just that relaxation, being able to keep distance and move. That's something that takes a long time. Just to get comfortable in there, and those guys, like, you can tell they've been training since they were 4. You know what I mean? Just to have that stealth mode and just go in there and stay on course, even if when they rock their guys, they still didn't rush in and go kind of crazy like so many young fighters do, like I did when I started. Yeah, you can tell that they're well seasoned.
It's got to make you feel good as someone that, really was a pioneer, 10, even 15 years ago to, getting this division kind of rolling in Canada and seeing some real good talent coming up and kind of following in your footsteps and what you've accomplished and guys that have the potential to do that.
Yeah, man, I've been seeing it, for the past years now, especially with all the young guys that either I coach or that train with me. And then the Atmays, they're just an extension of that. That's the next generation. It's just crazy, that evolution. You know what I mean? We thought when we started, like, we were already evolved compared to the guys that were 10 years before me. But now looking at these guys 10 years after me, it's like, man, it's crazy. I don't understand how it can get even better in 10 more years. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's so many good up and coming bantamweights in Canada. Yeah, then these two are right up there as well.
Yeah, there's someone everyone needs to definitely keep their eyes on. I mean, Alvaro fought a real tough guy in Devin Loze, who has a good wrestling background, and just really couldn't get the fight to the ground until the last couple seconds of the third round. I mean, there was a fence grab which Atme did lose a point for, and made for an interesting, fantastic flurry finish from Loze. But I mean, just a set of brothers that really have shown like evolving, like even Izzuddin, who the jiu-jitsu was his downfall in his debut for us back in June at BTC 10, but that's upped his game, and his striking was just so crisp in his second round finish there of Isaiah Metatuk.
Yeah, and Metatuk just obviously wants to get the fight to the ground, and obviously the Atme brothers want to keep it up, so that was it was something that you could tell that they worked on. They have a good wall takedown defense, and for both guys, Metatuk, he got hurt super early, so I think that fight was he was on his heels ever since that first shot 10 seconds in, and I don't think he was all there after that. But with the Devin fight with the older brother Alvaro, he was doing more so shots against the cage, and you can tell that Atmo had great takedown defense on the cage. I like to see him more, get him in the center of the cage, and try to get that timing and let him come to you a little bit more instead of always coming forward at him, because he did such a good job at keeping the distance and whatnot. But overall, man, I was impressed by all the guys.
I was very impressed as well. I mean, we were even at the Unified show the Saturday night, I believe it was. So, and that was a great event, especially, that was a sold out show, a loud ruckus crowd. So it's kind of nice to hear that, just even from a fan perspective.
Yeah. I was kind of like, I know we were doing on Sunday, piggybacking off the Unified show and working with them. And I seen their crowd Saturday night, and they had more hometown people. I mean, we had hometown people too, but they had more of it, more fights on the card. So they sold out, and I was kind of like worried. I'm like, I don't know, like this place might be empty tomorrow, after a big night like that, because usually not many people want to do back to back, within less than 24 hours. But our turnout was actually pretty decent for a Sunday afternoon. An away show, outside of our province, following a big night of fights. I think it did pretty well.
Yeah, so shout out to all the fight fans in Edmonton, Alberta, and Edmonton proving why it's one of the best fight cities in all of Canada.
It is, man. It always has been. It's like, Montreal, Edmonton, I would say those are your two top ones,
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, shout out to the Edmonton Elks. They came out and they looked like they had a blast.
Yeah, the Elks. I didn't even know they were changed to that until that you guys are telling me, like, they're the Eskimos. What are you talking about? You're like, no, the Elks. Like,
nope, Elks now. Elks charged. So yeah, they were out there having a blast on their off day after they had a game the previous on the Saturday. So it was nice to see them. Nice to be a part of it. Nice to see the Canadian MMA scene kind of thriving again, and with some shows going on throughout the province. I know BFL's announced not one but two cards for the end of September and the 1st of October. Yeah. So I mean, we got some shows coming up for the end of the year as well here in Ontario, back in Ontario. So I mean, the scene is starting to pick up steam and momentum, and getting a lot of the next generation of fighters here in Canada some fights and some opportunities. Yeah,
that's good, man. It feels almost like 2010, 11 days when it was still banned, you know what I mean? And there's you had to fight all your fights in Quebec or out west, one of the two. That's kind of how it feels. I mean, Quebec not right now, but yeah, it's good to have fights are starting to come back around and give these guys, man, I feel for so many of them, because like they haven't got to fight for a year and a half, because a lot of the promotions out in the States, either they can't fly them out or they won't, because they don't want to bring an out of towner in to fight on one of their probably local guys that are going to sell tickets. So they've been kind of just sitting there on idle, training obviously, but not really getting the chance to perform or make money. So it's been a tough go.
It definitely has, but it's great to see that, things are starting to turn a bit of a corner, and these shows are starting to come back, and guys are getting opportunities. Most importantly, fights are starting to happen, and their careers can, now hit the play button after it's been on pause for over a year. Yeah,
absolutely. They got to progress their career. This is like, having a stall out for a year and a half definitely is a ripple effect. You know what I mean? A lot of people, they might just kind of walk away from the sport too, right? Because they put so much time into it and they're not getting out of it. You know, you got to pay bills, you got families to take care of, whatnot. There's so many other responsibilities. So that can kind of deter a lot of people. And also that year and a half of gyms were closed, you know, that could have been somebody potentially a future star in the making that didn't get that opportunity, and then kind of missed that opening to start. You know, there's so many variables that go along with this that you don't even think about.
Yeah, I mean, the ripple effects, as you say, right? From a gym having to shut down, or secretly having to train and whatever to find ways to get a fights or whatnot. But thankfully, that seems to be a thing of the past right now, when their careers can move on. As we move on in this show, Josh, is you've got the Top Gun shirt on. Let's go into the highway of the danger zone. That is the realm of mixed martial arts from this past, because it was a busy week with all three promotions putting on shows, whether it was PFL Thursday, Bellator on Friday, and then the UFC on Saturday. So let's start with the UFC. I thought a pretty good card after a week off, obviously highlighted by a very important fight in the middleweight division. Jared Cannonier took on Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum once again comes in and fills in for Paulo Costa for the second time this year. And I thought Kelvin, once again, he looked really good, but Cannonier, getting that time off, healing up from his arm injury, he looked fantastic and came away with a decision, 48-47 across the board. Close fight, but Cannonier just has impeccable cardio and just was able to just get the better of the strikes. Like, he hits like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, I mean, that guy that used to be a heavyweight to light heavyweight down to middleweight, you're going to, you're big, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the bigger boys in the division. I fell asleep during this one. Not because it was a bad fight.
It did run long, I will say.
I was just like 1 a.m. Nodded off, and but I watched the first 3 rounds. I made it for the first 3, but it was a good fight. It was very close. If I can remember, I think I had it 2-1 Cannonier, I think. I believe that's what it was. Very close though. So when I seen the decision 48-47, a close fight. And I know some people thought Gastelum won it, but I mean, that sucks for him. He's had a rough go in the last little bit, hasn't he? As far as
he's lost a couple, but I mean, he's coming in like he's lost to Robert Whitaker, who he filled in.
Yeah,
that was supposed to be Costa again. And then when you look at as well with Gastelum, like now obviously the Cannonier loss. I mean, he beat Ian Heinisch before that, and he kind of got fluke heel hooked by Jack Hermances. But yeah, he has been on a huge lose. Like, he's in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He is 1-5 in his last 6. But he's fighting some of the best guys in that division. And 2 of these fights, he's filling in to help the guy that was originally booked in the main event complete the fight. Yeah,
and majority of these fights he is very competitive in. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I like Gastelum. I think he's great. I love watching him fight. I think he's very, very talented. He just kind of had that shitty been on the wrong end. You know what I mean? And I mean, not all of them are his fault. It just kind of sucks, and especially taking months, somewhat short notice. You know what I mean? Those always are kind of iffy. But yeah, that sucks. Hopefully, he can get back on a win streak and keep that going.
Well, I mean, I hope the same thing for Gastelum. I hope his next fight he doesn't have to find a way to fill in, and he actually gets a full camp to prepare for an opponent, and hopefully, that person, whoever it may be, doesn't fall out or anything like that. He gets a full. He deserves it, and the UFC owes him at least 2 for him helping them out, not once but twice already this year.
Yeah, maybe somebody also that is not in your top 5. You know what I mean? I mean, not a bum, but like a lesser quality opponent.
I think maybe like a Darren Till or I know
Till. I don't think that's much of a lesser quality opponent, but
Till or a Vettori. If you want to be a guy in the mix, I think you still got to fight that kind of level of a competition. I think those are winnable fights for Gastelum.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go by the rankings, I don't know what he's ranked at. What is he ranked at?
I have no idea what he's ranked at, because I try not to look at the rankings as much. I know they have some sort of impact in some way, but they really don't.
They don't. I know, but I'm just like in my thinking, if he's ranked, let's say number 5, let's go 8, 9, 10, 11. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah. I'll pull them up for you right now. So Gastelum is sitting at 9th right now.
9. Okay.
I mean, maybe I guess you could give him Uriah Hall if you wanted to, Shabazian. You're probably waiting a long time for Weidman to come back, but or maybe Shabazian or Kevin Holland.
Yeah.
Kevin Holland's ranked below him, so could see what the improvements Holland's made since his great start, great year last year, and kind of a little drop in. And
that's a good matchup for Gastelum too.
Yeah, exactly. But the winner of that fight, though, is a guy that's definitely looking for a title shot or title fight at some point. I know, we have Adesanya and Whitaker 2 set up for probably the beginning of next year. But I think if you're Cannonier, I think you got to wait. I don't think there's anything in the division that spices you up to take a fight and risk losing, potentially being the next guy. Yeah. But I think he's got to just wait it out and see when that fight happens, which hopefully is, early first quarter of 2022.
And Costa's booked?
Yeah, I think he's fighting Till, I believe.
Till? Yeah.
I believe it's Till.
No, that's not right. Till is fighting, I just seen it today, Brunson.
Till is fighting Brunson, yes. You are correct. I know Costa is booked up, though.
Vettori.
Yes. The two guys that have fought Adesanya and...
Yeah, so with Till, Brunson, Vettori, and Thing, there's really nobody that can... there's really nobody that is there to fight that's worth risking, you know what I mean? Losing a title shot. It's not like if it was Costa, I would say, that would be a good one. But I don't know, man. That's a tough spot to be in.
It's a tough spot to be in, but I think if you're, Cannonier, your last fight before this, you lost a pretty close fight to Robert Whitaker, who's now going to fight for a title. So why not just wait it out and just find ways to keep improving, keep grinding. Like, you are a guy that, as we said, he hits like a ton of bricks coming down from heavyweight, then to light heavyweight, now to middleweight. And he's got one of the best gas tanks in that division. Like, that fight with Gastelum could have gone another 3 rounds, and I don't think he would have been breathing that hard.
Just, energy management. I think he does that well. Very efficient with his, with a guy that big too, you have to be. Because if you just kind of go about carrying a lot of muscle like that, right, you use a lot of oxygen. So you have to be efficient in the way how you use it. But as far as sitting and waiting, I get it. But, he talked about it too, like money, you know what I mean?
He did. He did, but he also today did say he's wants a title fight or something that's going to entertain him, but I don't know what's there because he's proven to be too small at light heavyweight. Like, that'd be the only other thing I could see getting up, but there's no one right now in the division.
I mean, unless you just take a fight just to get another win and get paid, you know what I mean? You do take the risk of losing a spot, for a number one contender, that sucks. But, I mean, it's a risk, but, you got to get – I don't know his financial situations too, right? So it's sometimes you kind of have to
Well, he did talk about his financial situation in the post-fight, saying he was broke. Now, he tried to clarify that a little bit today, saying he's happy with the paycheck. He's happy with, he's in decent enough, not in dire straits and needs money right away, but pretty much explaining, look, 60% of my purse is gone because I got to pay managers, I got to pay the gym, taxes, always the devil of anything. So obviously he's not in dire needs, but I mean, once again, the talk of pay these guys more. And I know he's a UFC fighter, didn't want to kind of get into that. And, I'm fine with my paycheck. I'm sure he is. I'm sure it was a nice to get some money. But if he's an elite, and that was the discussion today on the Helwani shows, he's an elite level athlete. Pay him like an elite level athlete. Pay these guys like elite level athletes. It's like every week I feel like we're having this conversation, Josh.
Yeah. Well, I think it's becoming, you can't avoid it anymore. You know what I mean? We're in 2021 we're also seeing how much money is being brought in. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing for me. You can ask for whatever you want, but if the money's not there to, distribute evenly or more fairly, then you can't ask for more, but it is there. That's the biggest thing. And his 60%, that's accurate, man. You're going to lose right off the bat, say 30% to taxes, maybe more depending on what state you're in. And then you got your management fee that goes anywhere from, 10 10 to 20%, you know, depending if your manager's taking 20, then you're with the wrong manager, by the way. But I know there's guys like that. But yeah, so there's another 10. So there's say 40 gone. Your coaches, I don't know how you pay your coaches if you get a cut, if you're paying them by hour, by whatever it is, your gym. I know, but there's another, say roughly 5% or so, 10%. I don't know how you work it out. And then your whole preparation. You know what I mean? Your proper diet, eating your meals, you hire a dietitian, whatever, your training costs, your gym costs, your travel, you're going somewhere else, like your stay. There's a lot of expenses there. So yeah, that 60%, that's 100% accurate, maybe even more. So people say, oh, you made $100,000. No, you know, of that $100,000, but at the end of the day, you probably took home 30, 35, maybe 40, you know? So, and if you're doing that twice a year, that's only, you know, $70,000, which is like a decent income, but not for, you know, somebody that's, you know, giving up their brain cells and their body, and it's, you don't get paid later in life. Like there's no pension in the sport for us. So yeah, 100% that pay should be increased. And also the biggest kicker, fight gets called off, you get injured, guy pulls out, whatever, no money, right? That's the biggest thing. So nothing is guaranteed. So yeah, I mean, we can go on and on for like an hour about fight pay, but it just needs to be distributed more even.
It's just every week, whether it's them giving like a Cheyenne Bays like a $50,000 bonus, and then them acting like this is the greatest moment for her, like how, and treating it kind of like charity, and then, you know, these Cannonier comments, and once again, it's like, imagine like an NFL player, even like a backup running back coming in being like, I'm broke. Like, you know, I hope good thing we got a game next week. Like it would never happen like that. Like, and I understand they have unions, they have,
well, that's what we need, right? You know?
Exactly. But I mean, that's such a long journey, and I hope it happens.
I know. And I think the biggest thing is getting the big dogs on board. You know what I mean? The biggest names, those are the ones you need, but they don't need that union because they're making millions. Right. So it's a very tough situation. I don't know how. I know it's, you know, in the past they tried to put something together for it, like for that to happen, and it didn't work out. But I don't know. Something definitely needs to be changed. You know, I got a buddy that is like a friends with a hockey player, a former NHL hockey player, and he was a pretty well-known name, and, you know, made a lot of money. And he was like, went into his truck one day and then like went into his glove box looking for something, and there was like a $40,000 check or $30,000 check, one of the two sitting there, and he's like, oh yeah, I forgot I got that. You know what I mean? Like that's huge for like and your average MMA fighter. That's something, you know, that's life-changing money for us. You know what I mean? So just to show,
that's a bonus if you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it just shows the contrast of what these guys are making compared to what we're making. I seen Robin Black posted the percentage payouts, you know, and the one thing I was pleasantly surprised to see was Bellator's. You know,
they're on par with like the NFL in terms of like
pretty
60%.
damn close. You know?
Yeah.
No, they're at you know, I think the NFL.
Sorry, it was like 45 or something like that.
Yeah, I think Bellator was at 44, 45, 46 around there, and then those guys were at like 48. Yeah. And then UFC was at like 18.
16.
You know,
16. It was 16, so yeah.
It's just that's crazy. I mean, but yeah, I do applaud Bellator for that, because you can see they are paying their fighters, and that's why you're seeing more guys go over there, right? So I hope that continues, because that in turn will up pays for UFC fighters too, right? So that the competition drives up the market for the fighters, so which is good.
I think Bellator needs to market that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, come out and market that, because you still see people like, I want to fight in the UFC, and I get it because they're, you know, number one or whatever. But the end of the day is your career can be technically like, you know, some guys 2 years. You want to cash in the most while you're young, you're prosperous, you're healthy enough. I mean, you're never going to come out of this sport 100% healthy, but whatever, cash in while you can. Like for a mixed martial arts organization to be on par with the National Football League, that's to me really impressive for what Bellator is doing. I applaud them for that, and more. They should market that, and that should be a slogan for getting free agents to come. Look what we're paying out. Yeah,
man, and you know, that's why you are seeing guys kind of go over there, right? And PFL too. I think PFL, the draws more for. I mean, I think they have pretty good purses, but I think it's more so the chance to win $1 million, right? So that's the big draw there. But yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised to see that, and yeah, they should do that, man. I know you're a big wrestling fan, so you would know more of this.
I'm assuming WWE's less, honestly.
You're what?
I'm assuming WWE is less than the UFC, honestly.
No, I mean, like, is it kind of like how the AEW is kind of like growing huge now and pulling talent from WWE, and it's kind of making more of a. Is it better for the wrestlers like that? You know, I don't know enough.
I think a lot of it also there more is I think the money's for it's like the established guys like a Jericho or now a CM Punk who he really doesn't need the money, but it's the creative freedom. Okay. For a lot of these independent guys who, if they went to WWE, they'd maybe just stick around in NXT and make less in NXT than they could on the indies. And if you go to the main roster, you know your career is going to be kind of treated as a joke. They're not going to push you because you're not a big, giant, guy from like design type from the 80s. Yeah. So that's why I think a lot of those guys want to go to AEW. And AEW is willing to sign those guys and give them chances. So I think that's more the creative freedom as well. But the money in AEW seems great because they have a huge television network that's invested in them.
Well, that's the good thing. And there you go. That's another, I mean, for the longest time, it was, WCW, right, versus WWE for the Monday Night Wars. And that drove up. Everybody loved that. Fans loved it, other than maybe the promoters, that whoever was losing at the time. But I think it's the same with MMA. Like the more promotions that are growing up and actually competing, the better the pay for the fighters.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes. I mean, there's such a big talent pool out there right now in MMA for any weight class, really. Yeah. So I think the more promotions out there that are willing to pay more and do more. And I know there's also like those promotions out in Europe that pay like a KSW. They pay like great. Like
KSW, Octagon
in the Czech Republic. Yeah.
They put on an amazing show. I was showing you some of those when they were like, they put on awesome shows. Fight Nights Global in Russia where I fought for, like, I mean, and then ACA as well. Like there's a lot of good promotions, man. So there's lots of market out there.
There's tons of market. And I think a lot of fighters should, take a look at that and not just dream on the UFC, because I mean I get it, it's great, it adds a lot to you to say I was in the UFC eventually, but
for sure.
But I think you should look at where you're going to get a great opportunity and where you can make the most bang for your time there. I
think you'll see two different mindsets. You'll see the people that say I want to be a professional fighter and I want to be in the UFC. Those are two different. If it happens to be both, that's great. But a lot of people they only just think of UFC and they just want to go there. They don't think of the broad spectrum of like I'm going to sell my skill set to the highest bidder. I'm a hired gun for hire, and go all different places around the world. That's why you see a lot of hockey players too. Like they're not just in the NHL. They're most of them, the best players are there, but there's plenty in the Russian league and European league. Like there's all over the place, right? So I think the same kind of thing can be said for MMA.
Yeah, I just kind of crazy. Like, obviously, every chance you get to talk about fighter pay and pay the fighters more, but it's like every week we come back to it. Someone says something or there's some story out there. Like even Miesha Tate, like 2 weeks ago, was like, I'm pretty much broke from my comeback by paying everyone. It's like, holy shit!
Really?
Like you're Miesha Tate.
Yeah, really. I didn't see that. No. Maybe she got a quick turnaround.
Yeah, she's fighting October 16th in the main event there. But, I mean, crazy, though, right? Like, that's Miesha Tate. That's a pretty big deal in women's MMA.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, people just don't know the costs of everything, too. And it's not a cheap lifestyle, right? Like, it's not like you go to work and then you come home and you just eat fast food and don't do anything else. Like, you're always, you're paying for, if you don't have coverage too, like chiropractors, massage therapists, things like to keep your body intact. Like I'm dealing with that firsthand right now with back issues and shit. Like, thank God I have like some coverage or else to be paying thousands of dollars, to cover these things. So that's something that people don't really understand. That's why when you hear people like LeBron James spends $1 million a year on his body, and you obviously think, oh my God, like that's crazy. But like, I believe it, you know what I mean? And I understand it. Especially if you have that kind of money, keep your tool intact, and that's what you're using to make a living. So it's got to be, kept at an optimal level, and people don't see that, right? Just because they don't do it or see those things behind the scenes.
Well, for sure. I mean, LeBron James, right? Like arguably the best player in the league, and he's got the money. Why not? And look at his career. Like he's played 16 years since 2003, more than that, and he's like barely had any injuries. So he's taking care of his body. He's got good
That's
people
when he
around
gets,
him.
you know, somebody bumps him on the court and he falls and cries like a little bit.
Well, that's most basketball players now,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But I mean, as you said, you're now dealing with these injuries, and you got to go see a chiropractor, see whoever it may be to help iron out the kinks. Does Bellator in that kind of take care of some of that, or that's still just you out of your pocket?
That's still just me. I mean, I've never gone to them and asked about that kind of stuff. I don't know how that would work. I think if it's something that happened to me in the fight, I think I could be covered for that. You know what I mean? I remember like them telling me that. But if it's something, I don't know, just outside, I think that's just on me as far as I know. But I haven't gone to them about that kind of stuff. No.
I don't know. I just thought it interesting enough because I mean they seem to try to take care of their guys as best as possible. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just thought that would be a very interesting thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm fine. We spent most of the show so far talking on this issue.
You can go on and you can go on for hours on this type of shit, right? You know, there's so many points to go over, but yeah.
Well, I mean, this card I thought was pretty good. It did run long, hence why you fell asleep.
Yeah.
A UFC that shouldn't really have a main event ending at around like just after 1 a.m. Eastern time, like not a good look. But there were some good fights on the card. Like Marco Madsen won a split decision against Clay Guida. I mean, now moves to 11-0, and a tough, durable. I know Clay thought he won the fight, but thought Mads did enough to win. But a great win for a guy, coming in, from Denmark. His wife just got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, so it's a good comeback kind of story. And winning that for her was more important than for himself or anything like that. So now he's moving up the ranks of a very deep 155 division.
Yeah. I mean, I was rooting for Clay, man. I just training with him out there in Alpha Male. He's super most nicest guy ever. You know what I mean? So and a vet that's been around forever. And I thought he looked pretty good. You know what I mean? That fight was a split, right? So it was very, very close. I mean, I think it could have went either way, to be honest. Just kind of depending how you looked at it. But yeah, good for that guy. I mean, obviously that's biggest win of his career. It's a huge name, right? And yeah, you mentioned the stuff that he's dealing with outside. That's brutal. So it's always good to come home with a victory.
I mean, the main card started off with, I thought really weird that like kind of a number one contender fight in the flyweight division kicked off the card. Thought that was a little weird. Could have maybe moved that one up placement wise. But Alexander Pantoja looked fantastic in getting the finish in the second round against Brandon Royval. And Pantoja, a guy that's beaten the current champion.
Are they 1-1?
I believe he's beaten him twice.
He's beaten him twice, really?
Maybe I'm incorrect, but they've definitely fought twice. I know they fought on Tough, and they fought in the UFC. And Pantoja won.
One exhibition one.
Yeah, I mean, they've still fought though, so he kind of got that. So,
he's actually beat him twice though.
He's actually beat him twice, so he's 2-0.
Damn.
Against.
I mean, I'm on that guy. That's a great call out. You beat him twice. You know what I mean? Like, he's your champ. I beat him twice. Put me in.
I think that instantly makes him the number one contender. You've beat him twice. I mean, Moreno is now the champion. Why not? Like, you can't give Figueiredo a rematch for a trilogy or anything like that, especially how the second fight went down where Moreno looked really good against it. And flyweight needs a guy to fight, the champion probably towards November or something like that. And why not Pantoja? I mean, the guy's earned it. He's, beat everyone in front of him to get this opportunity. And there is the story now of I've beat the champ not once but twice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes perfect sense. I don't see anybody else falling in that spot right now. And
last thing on this UFC card, Josh, did you see the knockout that the Chilean
the spinning heel kick?
Yeah, Ignacio Bahamondes hit on Roosevelt Roberts with like 5 seconds left in the fight. Unbelievable.
That late in the fight, eh?
5 seconds left, in the fight, and he hit this spinning back kick, full on foot flush on the jaw, and just dropped him. Like, unbelievable knockout, an instant knockout of the year candidate. And I mean, this Bahamondes kid's looking really, good. Gets his first UFC win here. Had a tough fight in his debut against John McDessie, but nonetheless, a big win here, and proven to be one of these, guys that proved he earned a spot coming off the Contender Series.
Yeah, that was nasty. It reminded me of the Barboza one.
Yeah.
Years ago. I mean, you see the guys throw that so much, especially the Russians. You know what I mean? They're big on the spin wheel kicks and stuff like that. But when they land though, like it is hard to land accurately, but when they do land that heel on the jawline, man, it's lights out. And that one was flush, and you could tell, put him right out. Poor guy, 5 seconds, you know what I mean? Just could have like ran for the last 5, or just shelled up. But yeah, that sucks. But beautiful, perfectly placed kick though.
Yeah, I mean, Bahamas is a big, lanky lightweight, but man, he was throwing that kick a lot, and then, I mean, why not?
Before that,
I think he was. It was one of the rare ones because he has a lot of scar tissue, kind of like Nick Diaz or Nate Diaz. Yeah. So he was busted up, and it was the rare, like, wow, the guy busted up. Looks like he's winning. Yeah. Is winning the fight, but some judge could look at that and be like, it's even or not. So I didn't look at the scorecards before the knockout, but I could see a judge being like, it's even going into the third.
Right. Well, I mean,
no judges needed now.
Yeah.
But man, crazy knockout of the year candidate for sure. And that's kind of what they're doing this season on the Ultimate Fighter. This season of the Contender Series is these international guys, and Chile. Now you've got a guy to root for in Bahamondes. So shout out to the Chilean side of things.
Chile, yeah. I don't know if I've heard of a Chilean fighter, to be honest. So
maybe a boxer, but definitely not an MMA fighter.
Yeah. I can't. None come to mind. That's for sure.
No. So shout out to Bahamondes, who deserved a massive bonus for that kind of a knockout. But as we transition over to the Friday card, which was Bellator. I don't know if you watched any of it, Josh, but that heavyweight main event, Cheick Kongo, Sergei Kharitonov, was way more fun than it had any right to be.
Yeah, I got to see most of it, the card, and man, those are two. Kharitonov, man, I remember watching him in Pride, years like 2006 or something like that. And then Cheick, obviously, he's been around forever. Both in their 40s, but yeah, it was entertaining, man, and Cheick got the win. I thought Kharitonov would get the knockout eventually, but didn't go that way.
No, Ms. Kharitonov really dictating everything, really hurt, and really went in for the kill towards the end of the first round, hurt Cheick, and then Kharitonov kind of gassed, and Kongo hurt him with the shot, and then eventually got the fight to the ground and choked out Kharitonov with another second or so left in the second round. And Kongo's just the master of that, whether it's the Pat Barry fight from 2010 to now this fight here in Bellator. And honestly, you looked at it and you're like, these guys are some legends or whatever. Maybe this belongs in the old Yama days. But I loved this fight. Two guys I'd be willing to see fight again, or I'm just happier in the heavyweight division in Bellator.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't look horrible. You see some guys that are older that just they're just using the name, right, to kind of hang on to it. But it didn't look like that at all. So that was good to see.
I thought the pacing of the show was fantastic. I know they lost probably the most important fight on the card in the Borix JJ Wilson fight, which was supposed to be the number.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened with that. What
Wilson missed weight by 5.5 pounds. So
what?
So they had to pull it.
5.5 pounds.
Yes.
Man, what a fucking that's not even close.
Well, now he announced he's moving up to lightweight. So.
Really? So he's done with featherweight.
He's missed, I believe, 3 times at 145.
Really? I didn't know that.
But this is a number 1 contender fight, and you're missing by 5.5 pounds.
Yeah, dude, you're not even close to that. Not even close. So that's like what's his name? And bantamweight, Higo always missing weight at bantamweight. Same type of thing. So yeah, it's obviously it's not just you fucked up this time. Scale was off. Whatever. It's you're too big for that weight class. Yeah.
So unfortunate situation there for. Really a fight everyone was looking forward to. That they did announce was the number 1 contender fight for AJ McKee's featherweight title. But now that doesn't happen. So obviously Borix, I think, has to be in there, and he needs to fight. I think he needs to fight the guy that beat Sanchez, honestly, back on the card where
what's his name again?
Oh my gosh. Names are
I know the guy from
another European.
Yeah,
fellow.
His name. But yeah, him.
Yeah.
He should fight.
He needs to. Yeah, I think that should be the number 1 contender fight for that division because obviously if it's not Mads Burnell, that's who.
Yeah, that's who.
I
was thinking Raz or something like that. Yeah.
No, Masvidal and should definitely be in there now to replace the no longer needed J.J. Wilson, who's now moving up to 155 pounds. So, hey, you know what? A missed opportunity, but if Bellator wants to keep McKee around in that weight class, they need to find a way to get Borix back out there quickly.
Yeah. So I think that's a good one that you mentioned. I don't think anybody else that's right there at the cusp. You know what I mean? I think those two would make perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate because I think everyone was looking forward to that fight. But I loved even though they lost the fight, I just loved the pacing of the card, honestly. Like, helped you got early finishes on the prelims, but I just love how they paced everything out on that show. And it was just an easy, couple hour watch. And we were out of there. Like, not going to 1 a.m. when we didn't need to, like the UFC.
Yeah, I like it. Like a show like that, man, where we're like 2.5, 3 hours, boom, done. See you later. Perfect.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we did have here on that Bellator card. I thought, a show that highlighted some good prospects more so with, I think Logan Storley. He won a split decision, but he's a guy to really look after.
I watched the bantamweight one was what I wanted to watch. The
catchweight at 140.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I don't know why that was. I don't know who wanted that or what the case was at, but if maybe somebody filled in late, I don't know. But yeah, Keith Lee and
Lugo.
Yeah, it was good. Going into it, I'm like, it's going to be a tough. I thought Lugo would probably win. I thought maybe decision, but he got the choke at the very end and finished the round. But then you could tell Lee was out, right, and kind of stood up, and he was just all over the place. So they called it.
I thought that was a great stoppage by the referee.
Yeah, the guy was unconscious. Right?
Some of them, some of these commissions may have let that fight find a way to see a second round where it no way should have, because you were pretty much, as you said, Lee was unconscious. I
mean, as the fighter in me, I'd be like, we're good to go. We made it out. Even if we weren't really conscious, we got to our stool, and I'll make that 1 minute bell marker for the next round. And it was a blood choke. I wouldn't get concussed and knocked out. So, I've been put out in training, with chokes, and then you kind of just like snap into it. You're like, oh shit, I went out. Like, and it's pretty quick, and then, you're pretty recovered. So as the fighter to me, I'd be like, yeah, I want to keep going, obviously, and I think they can. I could see, as a doctor and as a commission and whatnot, they'd be like, no, there's no way that they're gonna let it go. So I see both sides.
Well, the other, I guess, interesting point of the show, I mean, the fights were good. We had a lot of finishes, a lot of, guys to keep your eye on this show. Mm-hmm. I thought Morrow and Big John were great. They were pretty much handling everything. There wasn't the desk setup that there normally is at these Bellator shows, but I thought they were great. But Gable Stevenson, the recent heavyweight that won an Olympic gold medal just a few weeks ago at the Olympics in Tokyo. He's out there kind of playing the free agency side of things, whether it's Bellator or the UFC or even, WWE. They're looking at him. Even the NFL he's thinking about. But he was there, and they interviewed him. And
NFL?
Yeah, he's never played football before, but hey, you know what? If you can make that money.
You think you're just going to go into the NFL and be good just because you wrestle?
I guess he's just such a freak of nature athlete. Like, some scouts think he can play.
But dude, like that's ridiculous though. You know what I mean? It's a totally different sport. You can be athletic and great in one sport, but I like to see him. Put him in the NFL and just see how he does. You know what I mean?
Hey, Brock Lesnar was the last cut for the Vikings that year. He tried to play in the NFL.
Brock Lesnar played football and he was an actual football player. You know what I mean?
No, he actually was just a wrestler.
Didn't play football? He played high school football, no?
Maybe high school football, but at that level?
I mean, yeah, Brock is a freak athlete. I mean, to be able to just jump into the NFL, come sign me. I mean, hey, if he can do it, man, and if it actually worked out, then all the power to him. But I just think that's a kind of a bold.
There are just some guys that you just put pads on that can just play the game. There's a guy on the Saints that came from Canada, was at the University of Manitoba, didn't play football until his last year of high school.
Really?
And he just got really good and scouted to play at Manitoba and became an all-Canadian, and now look at him. He's in the NFL. A starting defensive end in the NFL.
Cool. That's awesome. I mean, very rare, but good for him. That's pretty cool. And for what's the guy's name again? The Olympian? I can't remember.
Oh, Gable
Stevenson. I can understand him more so saying I'm going to go to Bellator, I'm going to do the UFC, whatever, because wrestling is an instrumental part of mixed martial arts, right? And to have such a dominant wrestling game, it will help you in this sport 100%. And you could win probably a lot of fights just with your wrestling. So I can understand that, kind of call it that. But but going to the football, like if you never played football, to me that's like crazy. But hey, man, if you can actually do it and you have that athleticism and you can pick up the game that fast, then you're a freak of nature, man, and all the power to you.
I mean, of the sports he's looking at, he's going to make the most money in the NFL. Even if he's just on the practice squad, he'll be making good money rather than what he's
That's true. That's true, man. And like coming from his sport, I mean, I don't know how they took care of him as far as winning in the Olympics, but as far as wrestling, he ain't making nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think if he went back, because the NCAA, you can now, their student athletes can make money. He could make some money there.
It's still not real, that kind of money.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out or whatever. I know he's got an agent or whatever, but I mean, why go back to school when look, these options are there? But I thought Bellator put him on the broadcast, which, hey, good for them getting him out there. They seem interested in him, and I think Bellator should showcase that, 46% of what we're paying out. Definitely for Gable Stevenson, if you hope on getting him. I mean, WWE is also making a hard push on him too. He was at SummerSlam this Saturday in Las Vegas, so hopefully, he's got a decision to make. Hasn't talked to the UFC, but Bellator, that 46%, got to showcase that. Look what you can make here.
I mean, for him, go wherever you can make the most money. I think more what you want to do as well, right? Of course, but as far as the WWE, I mean, obviously he's a fantastic wrestler, and he has like the Kurt Angle credentials, but does he have that charismatic personality to be able to be a somewhat star in WWE? That's the real question, right?
Well, I think the interesting thing is just what they're scouting now. Like, they're no longer looking at independent guys. They're kind of looking for guys from like the early 2000s, like big, beefy guy. He's an athlete too, obviously, with the wrestling, and he can do like a backflip, cartwheel, like, a gymnast could. So he's a freak of nature in terms of that athlete, but and he's got a connection with Brock, from wrestling at the University of Minnesota. He's apparently known Paul Heyman since like his early days at University of Minnesota. So I think the pull could be there to WWE, but I just want to see what he could do at MMA. Like,
bro, Minnesota just breeds like big, hulking athletes, especially wrestlers, eh? It's like everybody comes from Minnesota.
It's like that part of the United States, like that North Dakota guys coming in there, and it's a state that there's not much to do except play sports, really, because it's like Canada. It's cold 7 months of the year. Yeah,
I guess so. But yeah, I'm good for that guy, dude.
I just thought it was good to put him on the broadcast. Like,
utilize your position as an Olympian and run with that. Take it as far as you can.
I think if he went to Bellator, I think that would actually be better for him. I know, like we talked about with guys wanting to just go to the UFC. UFC would love it, but like I kind of compare his career kind of to Cormier. Like, sure, Cormier didn't win an Olympic medal, but Cormier started out in Strikeforce, like Challenger Series Strikeforce, before he rose up the ranks and became an ultimate in that heavyweight tournament. Like, why not start there? Like, the talent pool at the heavyweight division of Bellator isn't the deepest right now. Why not start there? I mean, Bellator is going to market the hell out of you, and as we talked about, they pay the best out of all these MMA organizations.
I mean, I think it's a great option for him.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see where he goes there. I mean, as we kind of rambled on here, PFL, they were on Thursday, a show that I don't understand their pacing. These shows take way too long. Honest to God, I love the PFL. I love the concept of it. I love the fighters. But if there's a fight that goes to decision, I don't need 5.5 minutes to get this decision read.
I'd be if there was a fighter in the cage.
Oh, imagine that. Just waiting. Like, oh God, I want to know. They're like, actually, we have the scorecards tabulated, but we're just waiting because we got to have this exterior shot of the building and whatever. Like, oh my God, just the pacing.
That's, I guess, production, right? I don't know. Whoever's the director.
Someone needs to alter it, because you can't start a broadcast off that's like, we're starting hard at 6 and 13 minutes goes by before the first fight happens.
Yeah, that's too much, man. Like, if you look at any other show, it's like the first you start at 6, that first 10, maybe 15 minutes is kind of, leading up to it. And then boom, your first fight's happening.
Like my wife was like, aren't you watching PFL? I'm like, I am. They just haven't fought yet.
Yeah.
Because the pacing is just outrageous. But I mean, story coming out of here, I mean, we got our heavyweight final. I think it'll be, it's a final we have here right now. But Kayla Harrison, another dominant win. She's, maybe not fought some of the best talent out there, but maybe it's just she's so good she's making them look bad.
I mean, she's good. Obviously, she's very good. So I don't take that away from her at all. But I do think she's in such a shallow pool, man. You know what I mean? At 155, 145 is such a shallow pool. So going up another weight class, like, that just most women aren't that big, right? So they don't. You see more. That's why you see 35, 25, 15 is flooded with all the talent, right? So yeah, I credit to her. She's amazing athlete, doing very well, good fighter. But she's in a division that is very shallow. But that's not her fault. You know what I mean? She's cleaning house, and whoever they put in front of her, she'll take out. And for her, that's a great situation. Make your money, win your fights, and keep going.
Well, she's now got one fight left on her deal, which is going to be the finals in October against Taylor Gradado, who's, she won a decision. She's 3-1 now as a professional mixed martial arts, and good for her. She's a good story as well. They showed footage of like her son and her husband watching her win, so that was a nice little touch. I just think Kayla's such a different breed, as you kind of discussed. But last fight on her deal, like PFL's got to really either do something to pay her more, or sign some of these free agents like a Julia Budd out there and make it interesting. And like, that's your first fight, Julia Budd.
That girl, she beats 3-1. And how many fights in PFL? 2?
No. The girl she's fighting in the final now is 3-1.
Yeah. So how many fights has she had in PFL? Man?
That would be
third.
I believe third. I know she has a win or her loss was in Invicta, but she had 2 fights in one of these one night tournaments where they didn't affect your record, I believe, if you lost. Okay. So she technically had more fights than that.
Okay. But yeah, imagine that 3-1, you're fighting for $1 million.
I mean, that's great for Taylor. I think the Gradado story is great, but
I was getting like $1,000, if that, you know what I mean? But I mean, that's great. That I just think goes to show you the lack of big talent, right, to pull from. But yeah, as far as what you're saying about PFL bringing in somebody, we'll see what happens after this, right? She might shift elsewhere, but the problem is, can she make a lower weight class? Can she go down to 45 at least? I don't know.
She's done it. She did it last year in her free fight out of the PFL with Invicta. Okay. I mean, she said she, had a lot of trouble cutting the 10 pounds, and she doesn't like cutting the weight, which, I mean, if you didn't have to do that as a judoka and you're coming into this weight class where you don't have to do anything, I get it. But if you want to fight, really, there's not much 155.
If I'm her, I'm thinking, my deal's up, and my options are either, if you're going to give me another season of this, and with the same type of opponents at 55, I'll stay here and make another $1 million+ 100%. You know what I mean? But if that's not going to happen for whatever reason, then I would probably, for her at her weight class, I'd probably say head over to Bellator about 145. Because there's no 55. Because I think there she'll have more competition. I mean, she'll have some in the UFC too, but there's only a few featherweights.
There's no more featherweights, Josh. It's dead. It's done. It's like 35 only now.
Yeah, so I think that's really your only 2 options if you want to go anywhere that's going to give.
Well, if you're going to Bellator, you sign her and she's instantly fighting for a title. Like there's no like, oh, I gotta earn this. Like her, like if Cyborg's still the champion, which I imagine would be the case per se. Cyborg and Kayla Harrison, like that's an interesting fight right there.
Good fight, man. Like, that's a really good fight. I'd like to see that. So I think that's the fights she needs if she wants to do that. Or, like I said, PFL's paying $1 million again. Cash that shit in.
I think she's kind of at the point, like just listening to interviews, like they have to pay her more and whatnot. I mean, obviously $1 million is great, but I think she wants to build a legacy and beating people that are, just have not the greatest records and whatnot. And I know PFL's trying to get this Clarissa Shields fight, but that's like 5 years down the line for just the skill levels.
If money's not the be all end all right now for her. Like if she has a good amount of money in the bank, which she probably does, and you know what? So then I can understand. Okay, I'm still going to make good money elsewhere, but I'm going to fight tougher comps and build more of a legacy. Then I can understand that for sure. But if it's not about that, if she just wants to rake in cash, then sign up another season.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think PFL is going to have to do whatever they can because she's kind of their star, their real draw, their real attraction, or why you watch the PFL, really.
Yeah, well, that tournament was made for her.
Oh, of course it was, but still, it may be made for her, but she's just like that good.
Yeah,
right? That she's just dominating everyone.
Yeah.
So sure. I think PFL's got to do something to make it work out where, you know, their big UFC signings aren't going to be in, like, one didn't even make the playoffs in Pettis, and then McDonald kind of got manhandled a little bit there by Ray Cooper III in the welterweight final. So PFL got to find a way to get that happening. But I mean, this is it's a fun time to be a combat sports fan, Josh. I mean, we had a crazy weekend last weekend. We'll have an interesting week this week. There's a UFC this week. No Bellator. Friday's crazy because we close up the PFL playoffs with the featherweights. More importantly, the Brendan Lognay the Brendan Lognay, I believe, Kabaliev or whatever it may be. My tongue was twisted there. I apologize getting that wrong. But as well, I mean, Bubba Jenkins is in there too against Chris Wade. Like, that's a fun fight. The featherweight playoffs I'm very interested in.
Yeah, I'm interested in those ones for sure. Those are two really good fights. And yeah, I mean, impressed by all those guys going into these semis, so that they should be good. And
then the last thing we have this weekend, Josh, it's Jake Paul. He's back against Tyron.
Oh, yeah, what's this weekend? You know, shit.
This Sunday, a Sunday boxing pay-per-view.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
I kind of like it too. You know what? We're seeing WWE branch out from the Sundays. They're doing some Saturday events for pay-per-views, and now boxing with Showtime and the Pauls, they're setting them on Sundays. I kind of like that.
Here's a chance for Paul to like make a statement, man. You know what I mean? Like, because, you know, first of all, I mean, he started as a joke, right? It all kind of YouTuber, whatever. But then you see glimpses in his second fight of actually some boxing skill, and then he fights Ben Askren. Man, we talked about it. I knew he was going to get knocked out in this fight. Ben is the worst striking in the game. You know what I mean?
Plus coming off hip surgery.
Not training. He's just come for a paycheck, right? But you can still see that the kid, you know, Paul does have some skills. Now, are those skills comparable to you know, our actual legit veteran, experienced ex-champion? I'd say probably not quite there, but we're going to find out, right? So if he beats Woodley, it definitely legitimizes his status as a fighter. You know what I mean? He's not going to be in the ranks of Canelo and shit like that. And there's not even close.
Who he is called.
Yeah, of course he is. But good for him. Different hemisphere, you know, as far as skill set wise. But still, it's a huge step up in competition. And I respect him for doing that.
I do too. I think it's,
even though it's just boxing, and I know Tyron Woodley's more so wrestling and short, explosive burst power puncher, which, you know, it can translate well into boxing, but not always, right? So we'll see how that plays out.
I was just listening to a Woodley interview today, and like, he seems like in such a good place mentally, where, you know, he had kind of a rough exit out of the UFC. He had kind of had some, you know, friction with Dana White and whatnot, and you know, you lose a couple fights, like how he lost and didn't look good and couldn't pull the trigger, like whether it's Usman or Colby, but he had to worry about takedowns and other things. He just gets to stand up, and his hands look good in the Luque fight. And I know MMA striking is different than boxing, but he's fighting at cruiserweight, which I believe is like 175, 180 around there. So he's not like he has to cut any weight, and he's fighting a guy that's really kind of putting a lot of pressure on himself, where he's made this big plans, you know, I'm going to beat this guy, I'm going to do that. And, you know, so far he's passed him with flying colors, but he's fighting like an athlete that's still in his prime. Like, I would not, I know the odds are right now in the favor slightly, I believe, of Paul, but I would not be shocked if Woodley got this done within the first 3 rounds.
So Paul is favored in this fight?
Right now, yes.
Really? So I mean, I got to get on these sites, man, and put some money down on Woodley, because I'd take that bet for sure. I mean, like I said, Paul has grown on me, but I like also what he's doing as far as the fighter pay, how he kind of talks about that and really pushes it out there. So I like that, man. I like what he's doing for the fighter community, trying to get us more money, which is very cool. So, but yeah, regardless, I'm going to tune into it and watch it because I'm interested by it and excited.
I'm excited for it too. And I love the Showtime Sunday pay-per-view. I just love the boxing.
Is it during the day, or is that night?
That's like an 8 o'clock start. Okay. And it's in Cleveland, so no fancy. No, don't have to worry about rain like the last Showtime exhibition with Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather. Don't have to worry about that in Miami. But yeah, I think I'm very interested in it. I know Showtime produces the hell out of the stuff to hype you up, so I'll check some of that out. And I don't know. I think this will do very well on pay-per-view because it's Jake Paul, the one that uses the mouth and has got all the attention on him, and he's fighting a former UFC champion. I think MMA can finally get one in the boxing ring.
We'll see. We'll see. It's definitely a better, they picked a better person to go represent than Ben Askren in a boxing match.
Yeah, or a past his prime Tim Sylvia against like a Ray Mercer, where I got a Ray Mercer who's got a puncher's chance, and you give it to him like you're going to get knocked out. So I think Woodley's in a good place mentally. I think he's excited. He's back on Showtime, like he's a former Strikeforce guy when Showtime was airing that product. So I don't know. I would not be shocked if Tyron Woodley got this done and really would try to change the trajectory of the perception of him right now. Like there's a perception now that he was kind of overrated as a champion, even though I think he was, one of the better welterweight champions we've had. And he gets a win here. Like he's got himself at least, a career in boxing.
Maybe. I mean, we'll see. I'll see how it goes. And I don't know. I'm sure he's getting a decent paycheck, right? So that's big. Obviously a win will advance everything for him if he wants to. But yeah, he's getting older in age too. Was he 40?
He's got to be up there around that point.
I mean, obviously still in great shape, but yeah, he's definitely getting, closer to that 18th hole,
Yes, he is getting closer to that 18th hole. He just turned 39 in April. So next year will be the big 4-0, but he's right now,
if you want to say for sure,
he's right now, he's definitely cashing a big check, and he's trying to put in, the Masters Championship here against Jake Paul and get one for us MMA guys, I guess is the way to look at it. But yeah, that's going to be a fun Sunday. I mean, I think, and the main event for the UFC, Edson Barboza, Giga Chikadze, that's a fantastic fight as well.
Great striker match up there. We'll see if anybody shoots in that one. I don't think so, but
hope for the UFC's sake, no one shoots. It's just a kickboxing style fight.
Yeah. It's kickboxing. Both guys, Muay Thai is great, kickboxing great. So yeah, that's a good one to watch, man.
All right, Josh. Well, as we've come back after a week off from calling fights to now talking about all the action and the craziness of the realm of mixed martial arts, plug yourself out there on Instagram where we can see many great memes of yours as you always post.
At Gentleman J Hill.
All right, Josh. Well, have yourself a good rest of the week. We'll be back next week to break down all the wild and happiness in MMA and combat sports and break down, this Woodley Paul fight and whatever happens in the realm of MMA. So for my broadcast partner, Gentleman Josh Hill, I'm Jason Hagholm. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Peace out.